What if everything you're rushing toward is actually moving further away the faster you run? What if the anxiety, the exhaustion, the feeling that you're never doing enough isn't because you're lazy, but because you're trapped in an illusion that our entire culture has convinced you is real? And what if there's an ancient Buddhist wisdom that can show you how to accomplish more, experience deeper joy, and find genuine peace, not by speeding up, but by slowing down? Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to reveal the paradox that will completely transform how you experience time, productivity, and your entire life. If you're exhausted from constantly rushing, tired of feeling like you're never enough, and ready to discover a completely different way of living, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I share wisdom every week that challenges the cultural programming keeping you trapped. Now, let's explore this life-changing perspective together. Take a moment right now and notice how you feel in your body. Is there tension in your shoulders? A tightness in your chest? A sense of hurry, even though you're sitting here watching a video? Most of us carry this constant, low-grade anxiety, this feeling that we should be doing something else, moving faster, being more productive. Even in moments of rest, we're not really resting, because part of our mind is racing ahead to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. We're physically here, but mentally we're already in the future. And that gap, that split between where we are and where we think we should be, that's where our peace goes to die. Buddhism teaches that this hurry, this constant sense of urgency, is fundamentally an illusion. Not that there aren't real deadlines or genuine time constraints in life, but that the constant state of rushing, the perpetual feeling that there's not enough time, that you're behind, that you need to go faster, that's manufactured. It's not based on reality. It's based on a set of beliefs we've absorbed from our culture, beliefs that have been programmed into us so deeply that we mistake them for truth. And these beliefs are making us miserable. Think about how you start your day. For most people, the alarm goes off, and immediately you're in rush mode. You hit the ground running, figuratively, and sometimes literally. You're checking your phone while you brush your teeth, planning your day while you shower, eating breakfast while responding to messages, and you're out the door with your nervous system already in overdrive. You haven't even started your actual day and you're already feeling behind, already feeling that pressure to move faster. And then the day continues in that same frantic energy, rushing from task to task, from meeting to meeting, multitasking, checking things off your list, never quite feeling like you're doing enough or moving fast enough. By the time you get home, you're exhausted. But even then, you can't truly rest because there's still more to do, and even if there isn't, you feel guilty for resting because the programming tells you that rest is laziness, that your worth is measured by your productivity, that slowing down means falling behind. So you fill your evening with more tasks, more screens, more stimulation, and you fall into bed depleted, only to wake up the next morning and do it all again. Does this sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. This is how most people in modern society are living, and it's absolutely exhausting. But here's what Buddhism wants you to understand. This frantic pace isn't making your life better. It's not making you more successful or more fulfilled. It's not even making you more productive in any meaningful sense. What it's doing is disconnecting you from your life as you're living it. You're so focused on the next moment, the next task, the next achievement, that you're completely missing the only moment that actually exists, this one, right now. You're rushing through your life trying to get somewhere, but you never actually arrive because as soon as you reach one destination, you're already focused on the next one. It's a treadmill that never stops, and the faster you run, the faster it seems to go. The Buddha taught about this 2,500 years ago. He called it tanha, which is often translated as craving or thirst, but it also encompasses this quality of always reaching for the next thing, never being satisfied with what is, always feeling like something is missing or incomplete. And he identified this as one of the root causes of suffering, not because wanting things or having goals is wrong, but because when you're in a constant state of reaching, of rushing toward the next thing, you're in a perpetual state of lack. You're essentially telling yourself, I'm not okay right now. I'll be okay when I get there, when I achieve that, when I have this. And that message, repeated thousands of times a day, creates a deep underlying anxiety and emptiness. Our society has taken this natural human tendency and amplified it to an extreme. We're bombarded with messages that reinforce the illusion of hurry. You're running out of time. Don't miss out. Act now. Others are ahead of you. You need to hustle. Sleep when you're dead. Time is money. All of these messages are designed to keep you in a state of urgency, to keep you consuming, producing, never stopping, never questioning, because a population that's constantly rushing, constantly anxious, constantly feeling inadequate, is a population that's easy to control and profitable to market to. And here's the insidious part. We start to believe that our value as human beings is tied to how fast we move, how much we produce, how busy we are. Being busy becomes a status symbol. When someone asks how you are, you automatically respond with busy, as if that's something to be proud of, as if being overwhelmed is evidence of importance. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. We compete over who has less time, who sleeps less, who's more stressed. It's completely backwards, but it's so normalized that most people don't even question it. But what if you stepped off that treadmill? What if you questioned the entire premise? What if, instead of rushing through your life, you actually experienced it? This is what mindfulness, what presence, what the Buddhist practice of being here now is all about. It's not about doing less or being unambitious. It's about being fully present with whatever you're doing, rather than being split between multiple time zones mentally, while your body is mechanically going through the motions. Imagine eating a meal, just eating, tasting the food, appreciating the flavors, the textures, the nourishment, without simultaneously checking your phone, watching TV, or planning what you're going to do next. Imagine having a conversation with someone you love where you're actually there, fully listening, fully present, not half listening while your mind races ahead to your next task. Imagine doing your work with focus and presence rather than frantically multitasking and checking email every 3 minutes. These aren't exotic spiritual practices. They're just living, actually living, instead of rushing through life on autopilot. And here's what happens when you slow down, when you bring presence to your experience. Life gets richer. Colors seem brighter. Food tastes better. Conversations go deeper. You notice beauty you've been too rushed to see. You connect with people more authentically because you're actually there with them. You enjoy things more because you're not already mentally on to the next thing. And paradoxically, you often accomplish more because you're focused rather than scattered, present rather than anxious. Quality improves even if quantity might decrease, and you start to realize that quality is what actually matters. But slowing down, being present, this isn't easy in a culture that's constantly pushing you to speed up. It requires conscious choice. It requires questioning the programming. It requires being willing to feel uncomfortable at first because you're going against the current. When you first try to slow down to be present, your mind will rebel. It will tell you you're wasting time, falling behind, being lazy. That's the programming talking. That's the internalized voice of a culture that profits from your hurry. You have to learn to recognize that voice and not believe it. This is where compassion becomes essential, both compassion for yourself and compassion for others. Compassion for yourself means being gentle with yourself as you learn to live differently. It means not judging yourself when you fall back into rushing, when you get caught up in the frenzy, when you forget to be present. It means understanding that you're trying to undo decades of conditioning, and that takes time and patience. Every moment you catch yourself rushing and choose to slow down, that's a victory. Every breath you take consciously, that's a success. You're not trying to be perfect, you're practicing a different way of being. And compassion for others means recognizing that everyone else is also trapped in this same cultural programming. When someone is short with you because they're stressed and rushing, when a driver cuts you off because they're in a hurry, when a colleague is frantic and demanding, they're not your enemy. They're suffering from the same illusion you're working to free yourself from. Responding to their frantic energy with your own just perpetuates the cycle. But responding with calm presence, with understanding, with compassion, that's how you help shift the collective energy. You become a reminder that there's another way to be. Here's a question I want you to really sit with, and I'd love to hear your reflection in the comments. What would your life look like if you gave yourself permission to move at a pace that feels good rather than constantly pushing yourself to go faster? What would change? What are you afraid would happen if you slowed down? Share below. Because naming our fears around slowing down is often the first step to releasing them. As you practice slowing down, as you bring more presence to your experience, you naturally start to let go of something that's been draining your energy enormously, the need to control everything. So much of the anxiety that drives our hurry comes from trying to control outcomes, trying to make sure everything goes according to our plan, trying to manage every variable. We rush because we're trying to force life to cooperate with our timeline, our expectations, our vision of how things should be. And when life doesn't cooperate, which it often doesn't, we speed up even more, we push harder, we stress more, trying desperately to bend reality to our will. But Buddhism teaches that this need for control is not only exhausting, it's also futile. You simply cannot control most of what happens in life. You can't control other people's choices. You can't control random events. You can't control outcomes that depend on countless factors beyond your influence. You can influence something, certainly, your own actions, your effort, your attitude, but control, that's mostly an illusion. And the energy you waste trying to control the uncontrollable is energy you could be using to actually live, to be present, to respond skillfully to what is, rather than being consumed by anxiety about what might be. Learning to let go of control doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on goals. It means you do what's in your power to do, you show up, you make effort, you take action, and then you release attachment to specific outcomes. You trust the process. You trust that you'll handle whatever unfolds. You trust that sometimes what looks like failure or disappointment in the moment might lead to something better than what you were trying to force. You open yourself to possibilities you couldn't have planned or predicted because you're not rigidly attached to one specific outcome. This is what Taoists call Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or going with the flow. It's not about not acting. It's about acting in harmony with the natural flow of life rather than constantly pushing against it. Think about water flowing in a river. Water doesn't rush anxiously toward the ocean. It doesn't stress about obstacles. It simply flows, finding the path of least resistance. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes still, always moving but never hurried. And it gets where it's going inevitably, without force, without anxiety, just by being water. You can live like this too. You can take action without force, move forward without hurry, pursue goals without anxiety. You do what needs to be done in each moment with presence and focus, and then you let go and trust. When an obstacle appears, instead of forcing through it or panicking about it, you observe it, you consider your options, you take the most skillful action available, and you accept the outcome. You stay fluid rather than rigid, responsive rather than resistant, present rather than projected into worry about the future. And what happens when you live this way? Life becomes easier. Not because external circumstances necessarily become easier, but because you're not adding layers of internal struggle on top of external challenges. You're not fighting reality, you're working with it. You're not exhausting yourself trying to control everything. You're focusing your energy where it can actually make a difference. And in that space, in that flow, opportunities arise that couldn't arise when you were rigidly forcing your agenda. Insights come that couldn't come through the noise of anxiety. Solutions appear that couldn't appear when you were tunnel-visioned on one specific path. This is one of the profound paradoxes that Buddhism teaches. Sometimes the way forward is to stop pushing so hard. Sometimes the way to get where you want to go is to stop rushing. Sometimes the way to accomplish more is to do less, but do it with full presence. This goes against everything our culture tells us, which is why it's so powerful when you actually experience it. You discover that peace, fulfillment, even success in its truest sense, these things don't come from frantically running after them. They come from being present, from slowing down enough to see clearly, from letting go of control enough to flow with life rather than against it. Let's bring this into very practical terms. Think about your morning routine. What if instead of hitting the ground running, you started your day with even just 5 minutes of quiet presence? Maybe sitting in silence, maybe taking a few conscious breaths, maybe drinking your coffee or tea slowly, really tasting it, really being there. 5 minutes where you're not checking your phone, not planning your day, not already in rush mode. Just 5 minutes of being present, of starting your day from a place of calm rather than anxiety. That small shift can change the energy of your entire day. You begin from presence rather than hurry, and that makes it easier to return to presence throughout the day when you notice yourself speeding up. Or think about how you transition between activities. Most people rush from one thing to the next with no pause, no breath, no moment to reset. What if you built in tiny transitions? After finishing a task, before starting the next one, you take 3 conscious breaths. That's it. Just 3 breaths where you're present, where you're letting go of what you just completed and preparing to be present with what's next. These micro pauses seem small, but they're incredibly powerful. They break the momentum of hurry. They give your nervous system a chance to reset. They remind you that you have a choice about how you move through your day. Or think about how you eat. Do you actually taste your food? Or are you eating mechanically while doing something else? What if one meal a day, maybe breakfast or dinner, you ate slowly, mindfully, really tasting each bite, appreciating the nourishment, being grateful for the food? No screens, no reading, no multitasking, just eating. This practice of mindful eating does more than just help you enjoy your food more. It trains your nervous system to slow down, to be present, to savor, and that training carries over into other areas of your life. These practices, morning presence, transition breaths, mindful eating, they might seem small or insignificant, but they're acts of resistance against a culture that wants you perpetually hurried, perpetually anxious, perpetually feeling inadequate. Every time you choose to slow down, to be present, to let go of hurry, you're reclaiming your life from that programming. You're choosing your own pace rather than letting external forces dictate your internal state. You're practicing sovereignty, freedom, authentic living. And as you practice, you'll notice that your relationships deepen, because when you're present with people, really present, not distracted or hurried, they feel it. They feel seen and valued. Conversations go beyond surface level. Connections become more authentic. You discover that quality time isn't measured in hours, it's measured in presence. 5 minutes of genuine presence with someone you love is worth more than hours of distracted, half-present interaction. Your relationships improve not because you're spending more time necessarily, but because the time you spend is real, is alive, is actually shared rather than each person being in their own mental world while physically together. You'll also notice that you enjoy simple pleasures more. The feeling of sun on your skin, the taste of water when you're thirsty, the sound of birds in the morning, the texture of fabric, the warmth of a hug. These simple sensory experiences that you've been too rushed to notice become sources of genuine joy when you slow down enough to be present with them. You discover that you don't need to acquire more things or achieve more goals to be happy. Happiness is available right now in simple presence with what is. That's not a consolation prize. That's the actual treasure we've been overlooking while rushing after fool's gold. And, perhaps most importantly, you'll discover a sense of peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. When you're no longer in the grip of hurry, when you're no longer measuring your worth by your speed or productivity, when you're no longer anxious about controlling everything, there's a natural peace that emerges. It's not excitement or entertainment, it's something deeper, quieter, more stable. It's the peace that comes from being aligned with reality rather than fighting it, from accepting what is rather than always reaching for what's next, from trusting life rather than trying to force it to comply with your agenda. This peace, this presence, this way of moving through life without hurry, it's your birthright. It's your natural state when you're not covered over by cultural programming and compulsive rushing. Buddhism doesn't teach you to create peace. It teaches you to uncover the peace that's already there, underneath the layers of hurry and anxiety and striving. It's like cleaning a window that's become so dirty you forgot there was clear glass underneath. The peace was always there, you just couldn't see it through all the grime of rushing. If this vision of a different way of living resonates with you, and you want to continue exploring these practices and perspectives, please subscribe to this channel. I share wisdom every week that can help you break free from cultural programming and discover more authentic, peaceful, fulfilling ways of being. Your presence here matters, and I'm grateful to be on this journey alongside you. Now, for the paradox I promised. The secret that transforms everything. Here it is. The fastest way to get where you want to go is to stop rushing to get there. The more you rush, the more you scatter your energy, the more you miss what's actually important, the more you burn out, and the longer it actually takes to achieve anything meaningful. But when you slow down, when you bring full presence to what you're doing, when you let go of hurry, your energy becomes focused, your actions become more effective, your intuition becomes clearer. Opportunities appear that you would have rushed past, and you move through life with a grace and efficiency that forced hurry can never achieve. The secret is that hurry is the opposite of speed. It's actually what slows you down. True speed, true effectiveness, true accomplishment comes from presence, from calm, from flowing with rather than against life. Stop rushing, and you'll arrive exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there. That's the paradox. That's the freedom. That's the peace you've been racing toward all along, and it was here all along, waiting for you to slow down enough to notice it.